For lesson 83, we're going to talk about proportions. If peaches are on sale for 3 pounds for $4, then the ratio of 3 to 4 expresses the relationship between the quantity and the price of the peaches. Since the ratio is constant, or it stays the same all the time, we can buy 6 pounds for $8, 9 for $12, and so on. With two equal ratios, we can write a proportion. A proportion is a true statement that two ratios are equal. An example is 3/4 is equal to 6/8. So 3 is to 4 is 6 is to 8. Right? So we're going to say the top is to bottom as the top is to bottom. Okay. Two ratios that are not equivalent are not proportional. So if they're not equal, they're not proportional. You've previously learned that you can reduce the terms of a fraction by dividing both numerator and denominator by a common factor. The idea of reducing the terms of a fraction can also be used to simplify proportion problems. So for example, if we have 16 is to 20 as n is to 50, okay, 20 doesn't go to 50 very easily, so what we're going to do is we're going to reduce in order to enlarge it. Okay? So 16/20 can be reduced to 8/10 or even to 4/5. Using one of those in place of 16/20 forms a proportion that we can solve mentally. As you can see here, we know we can just multiply by 5. Over here, we can just multiply by 10. The value of n in each of the three proportions is 40. Just by reducing it, it makes it a lot easier to find. So here, we can't go from 20 to 50 very easily on the top one. The second one, we reduce our regular fraction, the first part of the proportion that we knew, to 8/10, and now we know we can just multiply both by 5. In the bottom, we reduce so that we can just multiply both by 10. No matter how we do it, n is going to equal 40. So I want to know which ratio forms a proportion with 2/3. Okay? Is 2/4 equal to 2/3? Well, the tops are the same and the bottoms aren't, so right away we know A does not work. Okay? Here, we have 3/4, 2/3. If we think about, we should know that it doesn't work. This doesn't go into each other equally. Okay? If I could get a common denominator, so this was 9/12. This would be 8/12. We see that they're not equal. B doesn't work. C. Okay? 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. They're equal. That works. And if we look at D just to make sure, okay, you can see the first one's bigger than 1, the second one's less than 1. D is not going to work. Okay. Therefore, our answer is C. Write this proportion with digits. So all they want us to do is write it down. So we write 4 is to 6, 4/6, as means equal in proportions. 6 is to 9, so 6/9. So 4 is to 6 as 6 is to 9. In that case, that's all we would need to write for that. They just want us to write the proportion. We can use proportions to solve a variety of problems. Proportion problems often involve finding an unknown term. The letter A represents an unknown term in this proportion. So 3 is to 5 as 6 is to 8 are unknown. One way to find an unknown term in a proportion is to determine the fractional name for 1 that can be multiplied by 1 ratio to form the equivalent ratio. The first terms in these ratios are 3 and 6. Okay? So we know that 3 times 2 is 6. We find out that our scale factor, what we're multiplying by, is 2. So we multiply 3/5 by 2/2 to form the equivalent ratio. And so here again, the scale factor is a number that relates corresponding terms to equivalent ratio. What are we multiplying by? Okay. So we have 3 times 2 is 6. Find that 5 times 2 is 10. Therefore, this A is going to equal 10. So our answer would just be 10. It's not 6/10. All I want is what A is equal to. So if we complete this proportion, 2 is to 6 is what number is to 30? I have 2 is to 6 as, I'm going to use x for my unknown, what number is to 30? I see that I have 2 numbers on the bottom, so I'm going to figure out what times 6 is going to equal 30. Well, I should know that 6 times 5 is 30. So we're going to do 2 times 5, which is 10. X is going to equal 10. Please make sure that you do not write 10/30ths. Remember, I will count that wrong because x is not equal to 10/30ths. X is only equal to 10. All I want is what x is equal to. Go ahead, do the practice set. Only a couple problems there for you to do. Make sure you bring any questions you may have to class.